Okay, so today we're going to be talking about General Ledger Post and going over the changes that we did in the last set of updates. So we can kind of see, I'll showcase all of them. Again, with all of our webinars, type any questions you have into the chat window. I have that on my screen. I don't think that shows over to you guys, so hopefully not, but I'm going to put it in my upper corner. We'll also have an open QA session like every time at the end. And of course, if we don't get to you, we'll get back to you via email afterwards or phone call. All right. So let's switch over to ProFund. And if we go to the release notes, basically what we've changed since the last time we had a chat was we've added a note sections in the bank section of payroll checks. So let me quickly go over how that's working. So if we go to payroll and we go to set up bank types, there's a new notes field. So I'm going to change it to vacation. And we're going to put a note in all of this. Shows for everybody. So it's not just for one person, it's just for everybody. But we can say something like vacation time is only from the first, or whatever you need to say. So we'll go ahead and save that. And then whenever we run a PR Checks laser report, oh, he doesn't have any banks. Vacation time is only from the first. So anyways, basically this is what we're talking about, where the vacation banks are set up so that you can put a note now on them for the check for printing. Okay, the next item that we have in our updates is adding support for the create MERS file extension or file function. All right, so basically what we're doing is we're looking at deduction types, and we've added a new MERS component. This actually covers two things. We added a plan type if you need to specify what plan type this MERS is for, and if it's a MERS loan payment. The idea here that we have is we used to use in the description the word MERS, and we've taken that mechanism out. So if you do have a MERS plan, make sure you go back through your deduction codes and set which MERS plan each MERS deduction code is for. We added a new support, an option in Payroll Post to update when the rate, and this might be a little bit confusing, so I wanted to, kind of go over this. And what I have in here in Payroll Post, I have 3 entries in this payroll journal, and before we added this option, whenever you needed to change, for instance, this, this one hasn't been paid yet. So if you needed to make a change to this person's pay type from like regular, so if I go edit and I change his pay type to overtime, for instance, and we hit a tab, it doesn't change the rate because it's already been posted with that rate. So that's just, something that our software has done ever since day one. So I'm going to hit cancel. So what we did, some people needed to go through a whole journal and change a whole bunch of these rates from like an R to a PP or something. So we made under here and allow the rate to be updated when editing an existing transaction. So if you check that, when I go back now and I change when I change the R to a Q, or overtime, you'll notice the rate does change to the proper rate. So you can just kind of tab through it, and indeed it does change the dollar amount. So then I can hit save. Now this option here, each time you go into Payroll Post, it resets back to the older way. of what we did. So every time you come in here, if you need to do it, you have to set the option and then it will automatically update the rate. On equipment, we have a low authorized and high authorized parameter on the work order list. I'll show the report, but I don't think this database, my test database, has that many work orders. So if I'll just come into payroll reports and switch it over to equipment. And we'll see that we added a low authorized by and a high authorized by value that you can put in. But basically, it's just two parameters that we added so that you can, indicate in the list if you want to see who's authorized by. I'm not sure who added it, but somebody wanted it, so we put it in. We also added support for the new 2021 941, which just came out. So if we go under payroll, we go to payroll tax wizard, 2101 second quarter, next. No, we don't want to wait for that. We go to 941 form. We bring up the quorum, it's second quarter. We'll just say I have 10 employees. Create the form, select it, preview it, and here's the latest 941 for 2021. That shows all the different lathe, and then it's got the Cobra lines in here that didn't used to have. The two depreciation reports, I'll just show the first one, the fixed asset activity. Okay, so basically, if you go to the last page, you get these numbers here. And before, these numbers didn't used to match. Like here we got ZTS at 31,520. And if we go back a page, previous page, here's the ZTS 20. So you get the 31,520.64. This item here didn't used to match the this item here. The dollar amounts didn't used to match. And now it's a match. General Ledger Post has a lot of features that some of you may not have really experienced because you just didn't know. But that's what these are for, to help you learn a little bit more about how the General Ledger Post works. So we're going to first talk about, we'll just go ahead and we're going to use transfer vouchers today for our journal of choice. So if I come back down and I open up transfer vouchers, I'll just do this one. Basically, what I'm trying to talk about right here is this keying in this option here there's options inside of ProFund Accounting to do things, as well as what these buttons over here do. This button is going to show your year totals for any account number that you put here. We also show in this corner the account type that's there. And then we have, if you want to see all the transactions to this account, this one shows the list of all of your account value, or all of your chart of accounts, if you would. Even though it says list of transactions, this option here goes right into account maintenance. And of course, this is the tree view. A lot of you have used the tree view before. Being, drill down into an account. And then if you wanted to specify or change the account, you can hit apply and it will change the account number here. Actually, it didn't. Oh, I'm not editing. That's why. And then, of course, we have to switch it to the box mode to be able to change the entry over to the box mode. So while we have a lot of these nice little buttons on here that mostly work, the other thing we do have is options in the user preferences. So I'm going to say basically done here. So if we go over to your user preferences, we have a couple of different options in here, and You could turn it on so that every time you go in, if you turn on use box mode, it'll show the 7 boxes or 4 boxes, depending if you're township or a road commission. But it will show the boxes by default all the time. So if you really are using that mode all the time, you can turn it on here and it will always show that. If you turn off the used account delimiter, like for townships, then it's just a string of digits that you key in. But in order for that to work, all the account numbers have to be exactly the same length. So road commissions, obviously, they have variable length account numbers, so they have to use the delimiter or the box mode. You can change what the delimiter character is. If you don't like the plus key, you can change it to something else. We would say avoid using the period, but some people really want to use the period. I'm not going to stop you. We just ask you to avoid it. Then we can do also in here, we have a search option that happens when you're in the delimiter mode. And this one is set to start with specific segment 4. So when you're keying in, you only have to key in the last 4 parts. And if you hit the tab key and that's correct, it will fill in the first 3. You can, start townships and stuff would probably want to be using either first and last or start with specific segment 1. It seems that start with first segments isn't working correctly at this point. So, so for a township, I'd say either, use first and last or start with a specific segment and segment 1. For road commissions, it should be a segment 4. It makes it the easiest way to find, an account number in your chart of accounts. And, reduces the amount of keying. But these options are here and you can play around with them and change them, and use those. I just wanted to make sure you're aware that, they're here and this is where that's where you would change them. All right. So another thing in General Ledger Post that we have is the source of entry. And each of these source of entries has a specific reason and a specific value inside a ProFund. But like transfer vouchers, if you come in here, you'll notice at this point we have the amount, the description, and a number. If you wanted, we can have actually more values in here, and that is done by, and again, I'm going to say done here. No, okay. That is done by going into source of entry maintenance. And under transfer vouchers, you can put in relevant fields. Now, it's a little tricky on how to put the relevant fields in. So if you go to the last field and you click the edit, so we click edit, there we go. You go to the last field and you hit, I believe it's a tab key, you get a new line. And so we can say 3. And the field name comes from our database, so you can ask us which ones are available, but let's just say I wanted to show a check number as well. So I could say CHK, NBR or check number. And is it required? And I'm not going to make it a required field. So if I save that, now whenever I bring up transfer vouchers, let's try post, not reports. So when I bring up a transfer voucher, you'll see the check number show up. So there's a lot of different fields. There's like a voucher number, check number, a slew of other things that you can use. But like, maybe on your, if you're still putting in manual receipts and you're not using our cash receipting or our AR system, you're putting in manual receipts, you may want to have in like a receipt number or some of these other things that you might want to actually put onto some of the other ones that, basically we only had by default. But I just want to make you aware that this is here and you can make these changes. And typically, like here we have, they're forcing the number to be, you have to put the number in, and they're forcing a description. A check number might be optional. So whatever you guys think you'd want for your different source of entries, you can. So I'm just going to go and say done. Another thing that you may have used or may not have used before, and I'll go back down to transfer voucher, and we'll just play the game. So we have this transfer voucher here with just the 2 entries, and you can hit print journal. And what this does, this prints out, you notice it's the data list by from post. This prints out currently what you're seeing on your screen, not necessarily what might be saved in the database. So if I make a change here, so if you notice the 2 account numbers, so I'm going to make a change to one of them. 4, so we'll go 170, why not? Doesn't really matter. But basically, when I save it, but since I haven't committed it, what's in the actual transaction right now is still the old account number. But if I say print journal, it has the new account number that I just did. Now, if I commit it, then it becomes, then it goes back into the, the main transaction file with the new number. It removes the old one and puts the new one in. So just to kind of make you aware that print button was down there so that you could easily tell, you could get a printout of what you had on the screen before you did a commit. Sometimes that's useful if you have like a really big journal that you're keying and you don't want to commit it yet, but you just basically want to get a printout of it to make sure you've got all the pieces, or if something isn't balancing quite right, you can sometimes, it's not as easy on the screen all the time to make it in balance. It's sometimes nicer to be able to print that and, roll with it and see the different things. I am on the next page, which is our next webinar will be August 2nd. Same link as always. We'll again be covering updates, and the teaching topic is TBD because we're getting close to showing off the new kiosk, time card kiosk stuff. But I don't want to commit to that and then not be able to have that done. Okay, time for any open questions. All right. Any other questions about anything in ProFund accounting that I can answer for you today? Okay. Submitting trunk line to MDOT had an error this month. Yeah, we're working with MDOT because they're putting together a brand new submittal form, and a lot of stuff is going to change when they have that form ready, which is sometime next year. They're planning on doing the release of it, their new LDAP system. And one of the things that's changing is, how we have the 163 code. Well, that's now going to be a 0163. Things like that. The codes are going to 4-digit code instead of a 3-digit code. They're changing how the route table and the rest area tables work. They're changing how how you link up with the street lights if you're doing any of the street light stuff like that. And we're working with them, and we're hopefully when they release, we'll be releasing. But what they're doing right now is they're being hypersensitive to every little issue on submitting, so that before they do this release, everything is correctly configured, if you would, in your system. So if you've got if you get like a MDOT error of any kind, like, you're missing this one thing. And of course, Margaret also, Margaret, who used to be there for decades, has retired, and she used to fix that stuff. She'd just go in and make the little change because it was just easier than trying to get back with you to, get the thing set. So she would be making all these changes on your submission file. And of course, now the new person doesn't really do that much. They can, but they don't want to. So what I would like to say is, get with us on the phone, and whatever, tell me what the error that they're saying is. And we want to make sure that we're getting the right trunk line file to MDOT with all the pieces that they need in the correct form that they need it in. And some things are a little tricky, to get set up right, but we can certainly help with all that tricky stuff. All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you for attending. This was a little bit longer than our other ones, but we certainly covered a lot. Hopefully you are all learned a little something different or new that you may not have known.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.